You can always tell when a streak's going to come to an end. You win a couple of games, you probably shouldn't.
There are teams out there that could use that quality of playoff goaltending. All right, Ray, you ready to do this?
Yep, let's go.
Powered by Reb Media in partnership with TSN is Season 7 of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, Tim Hortons. It is Thanksgiving at Tim's. They've got the new Thanksgiving stack sandwich. It's available now for lunch and dinner for a limited time across Canada. The Thanksgiving stack is prepared to order, served hot out of the oven. It features thick slices of seasoned 100% Canadian carved turkey breast. Home-style stuffing is delicious. The cranberry sauce, it's made with 100% real cranberries. You like crispy onions? They'll throw them on there. Mayonnaise, all served on a delicious toasted potato bun. And, you know, even though we're getting into the latter stages of September, it's never too early to start thinking about Thanksgiving, right? I mean, Canadian Thanksgiving, we prep it because, I mean, the Americans embrace it because it Thanksgiving in the U.S. is just an extended holiday right through Christmas. That's the way it is there. But we can kind of put a professional spin on this too, because the Canadian Thanksgiving is early enough where, okay, it's about family, it's about friends, it's about the dinners and all of that. U.S. Thanksgiving, my brain goes to, hey, teams are still now looking hard at their roster. There are a number of games into the regular season. The U.S. Thanksgiving has always been kind of that mark where teams start to go, maybe I'm ready to wheel and deal here. So Thanksgiving has multiple meanings and factors beyond sandwiches and the turkey and the trimmings. And
yeah, you know, to me, it's family and food. You can think about business if you like. For us, it's the first of 3 turkey dinners. And,
of course, yes.
You know, so every 6 weeks here, we're rolling out another turkey, and you know, we're not that far away from the first one. So
no.
Canadian Thanksgiving, start of the season, time to get going. And yeah, I don't know. I love it. It's one of my favorite holidays because I don't feel any stress to it at all.
All right. Well, I'll be at the Cabbage for the Canadian Thanksgiving.
Are you driving out again? When are you leaving tomorrow?
No, I'm gonna double it off. I'm gonna fly in early. The Winnipeg Jets have their home opener on the 9th, October 9th. So I'm going to fly in on like the 7th, do some interviews, spend a little time in Winnipeg, 8th, do the game on the 9th, and then head to the Cabbage first thing Friday morning of October 10th. And I bring this up, Ray, because you're familiar with bears in your territory. I mean, you've had bears in your back step, right?
Yeah.
At your house. So 8:15 a.m. Eastern time this morning, Tuesday, as we record Ray and Dregs, an alert from neighbor Doug that another bear is sniffing around the Cabbage. And I said, kind of feels like there are more this year. He goes, yup, more than usual, and they're getting quite brave. So I didn't follow up the text exchange. Okay, well, how are you going to deal with that? Because I don't think our listeners want to know how they're going to deal with the bear problems out there. So that was my entertainment.
When they get close, you got to come up with a strategy, right?
Well, they do have traps for them out there. They do humanely trap and relocate these lovely black bears. Yeah.
Right.
All right. We spent a lot of time on the Canadian Brew House headlines last week because there's so much to kind of sniff through when you're going into another year. So we'll tackle the headlines a little bit differently because there's some interesting veteran player storylines to follow. Headline brought to you by the Canadian Brew House. Catch all the action at the Canadian Brew House. 30 beers on tap at least. Over 50 enormously big screens. And a signature Jumbotron, so you're never going to miss a moment of the action. Enjoy the largest patios in Canada, all the sports you love, and a place that's proudly Canadian-owned. It's born in Edmonton, as we know, and now has 48 locations nationwide, including one literally in my back doors. So find a location near you at www.thecanadianbrewhouse.com. Let's go to Vegas to start the Canadian Brew House headlines. Alex Pietrangelo spoke to the media on Monday to start the week, Ray. You know, he sounds, maybe he has to sound this way, like he's open to the possibility of returning. As we know, he's got 2 years remaining on his contract. But early in the offseason, it sure sounded like he was done. Like retirement was probably more likely. And we could be into a game of semantics because of the contract and what is remaining there. But yesterday he said, quote, "I'm just going to continue to take it day by day, go throughout my process and see where it goes." End quote. So now they haven't really talked about surgery. So he's rehabbing on his own. We know he's going to start on long-term injury with Vegas. I don't feel like there's an expectation that he plays, but he didn't say that. And I guess in some way, technically, he probably can't say that. So what do you take away from that interview?
Well, I found it interesting. I mean, all of a sudden, something I hadn't even considered is perhaps a possibility. The guys that start on LTI, if they are ready to play at some point, of course, now management's got a problem / maybe a really great solution, or
Yeah.
right, like they're going to have to dance around that. I mean, and it's Vegas, like it's Vegas, so people will pay attention.
Yeah.
If it were another place, maybe it wouldn't even perk your ears up. But
Right.
The fact that it's Vegas, that it's a really terrific player who has been very important to their success. Yeah, man, it does make you think a little bit, but I don't know, it just feels like such a long shot. He was cobbled together at the end of last year, and really had to grind it out to get himself through the end of the season. So it was interesting a bit, but I still got it on the shelf for me.
Yeah. So take us back to the later stages of your career, maybe even right near the end. And I mean, your knee issues were significant and all of that.
Right.
But the one thing that I always appreciate is, and Alex talked about this, how great it is to be around the dressing room, right? Like,
Yep.
like he's working out, he's rehabbing, he's trying to get healthy again. And that's probably just to improve his quality of life. So he can run with his kids and do some fun stuff outside of being a National Hockey League player. But how real is that, and how legit and important is that just in the mental psyche, into feeling good about yourself, being around your teammates, even though you know that the means to the end is probably, again, more about quality of life than it is returning to the NHL?
I believe everybody needs a place to go. And whether it's an NHL room or go meet your buddies for coffee or go for a workout, or you need somewhere to go.
Yeah.
And if Alex gets to the start of this year and all of a sudden it's a drop off the cliff, it's hard. I mean, I was ready to retire. Like my body was ready to retire. And I've told this story before, but the first game of the Canucks season the next year, Cammie and I went to it. We were sitting in the stands, and the players came out the tunnel. I just started to cry. And I was like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I was never going to do this again. And so it was hard. So this is a hard spot because you haven't officially taken that last step.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he would want to be around. You like the guys. It's fun. I mean, man, it's fun to be around. but you're not, but here's the thing. He's not really in. Right? Like if you're there, but you're not.
Yeah.
The guys have to go through their game day routine, and you're just in the way. And so you retreat a little bit, right?
I get that.
I mean, I can see why he would want to stay and hang out and work out, but a lot of his rehab stuff will be when nobody's there. Certainly once the season starts, because like the guys will be doing what they have to do. And, how many times can you ask a guy, hey, how are you doing today?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a funny spot to be in.
All right. Well, there really isn't any way to analyze or react to this, but We'll report it simply because the Toronto Maple Leafs literally just issued the statement minutes ago here, Ray, saying the Leafs have announced that goaltender Joseph Woll has taken a leave of absence from the team to attend a personal family matter. No added details will be provided at this time, and we ask that his privacy be respected. You always hate when you hear stuff like that. Because you know that whatever Joe Woll and his family are dealing with, it's serious stuff, right? So I offer that just in the sense that that's the information that's been provided, and it's less about, okay, what are the Maple Leafs going to do in goal? Well, if there's a reason to have to figure that out, it's still very early. They're prepping for game one of their, two, I guess, of their preseason. So that's the very latest in Joe Woll's status. Alexander Ovechkin entering his final year of a contract with the Washington Capitals. So 40-year-old Alex says, I don't really want to talk about retirement. You know, I'm not thinking about that. He's not worrying about next year. He's not worrying about when or if he's going to negotiate a contract extension with the Caps. So let's just have some fun with it. You know, without all the pressures that Alex Ovechkin had to be feeling, you know, with chasing the scoring record and all of that going into last season. What's a good year for a 40-year-old superstar this year? I mean,
that's a
30 goals is 30 goals. That's attainable.
Yeah, I had 30 in my head. So here's what this ties into Washington as well, of course, but I'm really interested how they're going to do. 2 years ago, they made the playoffs and they were like a bump in the road for the Rangers in the first round. 4 games and they were out. Last year, they have this amazing year. They win the division. They're the number 1 seed in the East. They beat Montreal in the first round. They had 6 or 7 guys that had, by a large margin, career years. And Ovechkin's year, which nobody counted on.
No.
So how are those other players going to, how are they going to back up these career years? And how does that impact Ovi? Because one thing we saw is that he becomes more and more of a complementary shooter. He's not a creator anymore. Well, he's 40 years old, at least. Right? So, like, that's to be expected. But can Dylan Strome have the same type of year? Is Protas that type of player? Is Connor McMichael taking the next step that they certainly hope he is? Is Dubois going to have another good year? What does John Carlson have left in the tank at 37 years old? Jacob Chikrin scored 20 goals last year. There's so many of these things that you go, I don't know if they can replicate that. And that to me all impacts what Ovi can do. All of it.
Yeah. I do. I think 30 goals, 35 assists, 65 points. It sounds like a lot at this stage of his career.
It is a lot.
It is. I mean, it is the best hockey league in the world. So, I mean, 65 points for a 40-year-old megastar is a lot.
There's one other point to that, Dregs. He doesn't have the Gretzky carrot at the end of the line. This year, it's just you're just playing. So to me, it all kind of adds up to a really difficult choice for goals for him. If he's in the mid-20s, would that be a terrible disappointment? I don't know. He's 40 years old. Eventually, I don't care who you are. Eventually, the game just gets to a place where you can't play it.
Right. But he loves it so much, right? You can just, everything about it. He loves scoring goals. He loves his team winning.
Okay, Larry Murphy was a Hall of Famer. He had this great quote. I always think of this with older players. And he said he knew it was time to retire because when he used to take from the dot to the corner, it was 2 strides. He knew it. It was 2 strides, right? He had his clock in the space of the rink. Then he saw himself on video and it was 4 strides and he knew it was time to go. And I just think it's the best quote of all time. Trying to figure out where you are in your career. He's like, time to go.
Doesn't get much more clear than that.
No.
That's hilarious. I'm sure you've participated in these conversations as well around Ovechkin, not with Alex, granted, and he's an important part of the conversation. But there are some high levels of office who feel like as long as his body is still strong, he would enjoy finishing his playing career in his homeland. And we'll see how it plays out, right? I mean, if the Capitals have a good year and a lot of things happen the way that you've described, and he feels like there's a real chance to contend for the Stanley Cup next year, well, then maybe does engage in an extension with the Capitals. But I do think, again, his family is from there. Why, if he feels healthy enough and wants to play a year or two, back in Russia, then gut on him. He's going to figure it out, and he's going to do what's best for both he and his family. Did you see the cute video, by the way, of his son scoring a goal in minor hockey? Like it was like a scrimmage sort of thing. Yeah. But I think Sergey is the young lad's name. He pops lefty it in the too. Net. And he is. He pops it into the net, and he's excited. And you look, and it's like it's like iPhone quality video, of course. But there's Ovi in the back, just cheering at the other end of the rink. He just loves every bit of it. Okay, well, as I teed up, we're talking about many of the graybeards around the league, and there's some compelling stories, right? We've talked about a couple of them, and Petro and Ovi. What about 37-year-old Milan Lucic? Think he has anything left? I guess that's up to him to prove, right? First to the St. Louis Blues, where he's there on a PTO, and then to the rest of the league. But are you curious? What's your expectation of what he might be able to bring?
Well, anybody that's away for a year, as they get older, and I think I said the same thing about Jonathan Toews last week, is that you don't get faster.
Yeah.
And the game isn't getting slower. And Milan's part of his effectiveness was that he intimidated people. Like when he got after people on the forecheck, like he was a frightening guy. Yeah. And if he can't recapture that, how do you become effective again? Now, could he be like Pat Maroon? Sure, I think so.
Yeah, maybe.
I think
a good comparison.
I think he could do that, right? But the foot speed, I think, is going to be a real challenge. And but how would we know until we see him as the games go through camp and the pace of the games ramps up? And that'll tell the story for him.
Some other PTO signings across the league, and granted, I had this conversation with Brad Treliving last week because, he's infamous for, trying to grab that reclamation project, Max Pacioretty a year ago, go down the list, right? Players who you think might still have something left. So there's no harm. There's really no risk in bringing a player in on a PTO. Now, some of them are wink, wink if you feel stronger than that. And you've got to do some cap juggling to make room to comply on game one of the regular season. But this year's PTO crop, frankly, is a bit thin, according to Tree. But there have been some interesting ones. Tyler Motte in Florida. That's interesting to me because Motte is Tyler Motte seems like he should be 35, and he's not.
Right.
He's a 30-year-old guy, not that far removed from being like a pretty decent penalty killer, no? There, and Florida has a knack for finding those type of players, and Paul Maurice has a knack for squeezing just that much more juice out of that player to just magically fill a void or a need that he knew that they had, but maybe the rest of the world didn't realize.
Yeah, so each year over the last few, the Panthers bring in some older guy and fit them into a spot, and they don't ask them to do too much. And the player gets to play with really good players because the Panthers are the best team, and they just have to perform a smaller, more manageable role. They brought in Jeff Petrie to replace Nate Schmidt. And remember when they signed Nate Schmidt, it was like, sign Nate Schmidt. I wonder how he'll do. He had a great year. Now, what did he sign? A
Great year.
3-year contract this year,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So Petrie had been banged up, and in Detroit they were asking him to do a lot, and then now they're not going to ask him to do a lot in Florida. Tyler
No.
Motte's the same thing. If he can, they're just filling around the edges here, and
Yeah.
if they can get a depth forward that can kill penalties, don't forget they're not going to have Kachuk till I don't know what is it, November,
December, I think.
December,
Yeah.
yeah. So you need another forward. Is it going to be? Do they have a young guy to place in there? Samaskevich will get a bigger crack at it this year after a nice little rookie year, but maybe Motte can give them fourth line minutes and help them with their penalty kill. And he's not the PTOs never cost you much, right?
No.
If they do sign, they're not going to cost you much, and Florida's certainly, like many teams, are going to be mindful of that.
I want your thoughts on a couple of Canadian teams before we move through the Canadian Brew House headlines here. Noah Dobson has Habs fans excited, and I think we can understand why. He was a hell of a player for the New York Islanders. So he's on that top pairing in Montreal with Mike Matheson. So you've got the experience factor there. So when you look at that blue line, if that's their top pairing, in fairness, I think it is, but you've got Caden Goulet and Lane Hudson. So that's a pretty solid top four from a mobility perspective. And it looks like Arbor Jacki is going to line up with Alexander Carrier. So, in talking to coaches around the East, sure, the puck movement is terrific. And Dobson is certainly a good puck mover. He can shoot it too, right? But when you look at that power play, as a power play guy, are you wondering, is there going to be enough puck for those two defensemen in Lane Hudson and in Noah Dobson? Is that a good problem for Marty St. Louis to have at this stage going in?
It seems like the 2D power play does not work very well anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like when I played, it was a staple. I mean, we never considered having a forward back there. The only time we did it, like in Hartford, Ron Francis went back to the point. He kind of played on the half wall though, and it was because he was such a great passer. So the only team I can think of right now last year that used 2D was Washington. They had Carlson and Chikrin, and it looked odd. It just looked like and they didn't have enough forwards to play in those top spots. So Chikrin ended up on that half wall. Montreal has enough forwards. It's having Dobson and Hudson on the power play together. I'm curious about. I'm curious to see how it would work. Certainly Dobson wouldn't be playing on the top. I mean, that would be Hudson's place.
Right.
When I watched Montreal's power play last year in the playoffs, I did that series. The one thing that stood out to me was that Hudson doesn't have a dangerous shot. Like that's of his toolbox. That's not part of it. And I know he spent a lot of time this summer working on it, but how much better could he make that shot? Dobson does have a big shot. So maybe that's something that they can work off of. Now, if you got to picture it like this. So say Hudson's at the top, that would put Dobson on the top of the left circle. Well, don't you kind of want Cole Caulfield or Patrick Laine standing over there? So now you got three guys standing there. It kind of gums up the power play. So that's Marty St. Louis was, he was a wizard on the power play for a lot of years, and they'll look at it and they get a chance in the preseason to see what works, what doesn't work, and I think this is important for fans that are looking at their teams and the way the lines are arranged right now. It's September the 23rd. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It's just all of it is just getting going. So if a line looks goofy to you right now, relax, because in 10 days, it's going to be a little different. Same with the power play. It might not look right. And they practice it and they go, yeah, that doesn't work. Or, hey, wow, we stumbled into something. And I think that's kind of a good place for Montreal to be.
I asked a coach, not that it really matters, because to your point, I mean, the games don't matter right now. Soon they'll matter. But, divisional rival, what he thought of that Montreal Blue Line, he goes, well, I mean, how do you not like it? When you've got that level of offensive talent, the mobilities we've already discussed. He said their one area of weakness might be the physical side of things and their ability to box out. And I'm like, well, maybe, but I mean, Noah Dobson gets his rap for being a smallish defenseman. He's 6'4", like he's slight,
Yeah.
like what is he, like 6'4", 205 or something like
Yeah,
that?
I would say, in fairness to the critics, there,
Yeah,
he doesn't play with his size. Like he doesn't.
and
That's
I think
just
that
not.
was the point. Yeah,
Yeah, that's just not his game. And as well as Montreal is going to move the puck, like, I know people probably forget about Mike Matheson a little bit. Man, that guy's a
Mhm.
phenomenal skater.
He
Like,
is. Yeah, yeah,
phenomenal skater. Caden Gooley is a terrific young player. Like, I really like him. He's big. He's got a little bit of chip to him
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like I like him. But eventually you're going to have to defend. And that'll be their test, right? That will be Montreal's test
Yep.
against the
Yeah.
bigger teams. They had at times, again in that playoff, a little trouble rolling around in their defensive zone when Washington started to cycle. But as soon as
Mm.
they broke the cycle, man, they can get out and get going.
Right.
That's obviously the way that the script would work for Montreal, is break the cycle and get going. Because if they have to
Yeah.
defend, like, I don't care how good Lane Hudson is, and he's
Right.
terrific. But if you're that size and you have to spend half of your shift defending, it's cutting
Yeah.
your legs out. Cut your legs out going up the ice.
Okay, so now, and we'll get on to Calgary here because I want your thoughts there on where the offense is coming from, that Flames lineup. But you've kind of reminded me of something in Montreal, and I know that there's been some internal discussion as to whether or not they leave Kirby Dach with Line A and Demidov, and the reason being, with Doc on that line, he's got no choice. He has to defend because those other two guys, that's not a strength of theirs. So I think the internal debate is, do we throw Kirby Dach a bone? He's healthy, and let him start the year with something else to get his juices going a little bit, because he could be a very important part of that club.
Well, I think he is, whether he's ready to be or not. One way or the other, he's going to be an important part of the story there. I guess the preseason for him is more important than it is for Cole Caulfield or Nick Suzuki.
Yeah.
And it's like he's got to get running as fast as he can here. And when you miss a long time, as Kirby has over the last couple of years, you don't, generally speaking, just jump back in and feel the pace. And, the decision making is slow. That's what I noticed when I missed a long time, is like, I'd have the puck and then all of a sudden somebody would poke it off my stick. I'd be like, where the hell did that guy come from?
Yeah.
Like you don't sense it right away. And so they're going to, again, this comes back to the lines. Just because you start somewhere doesn't mean you finish there. And that also means in the game. In game one, if he starts with Line A and Demidov and it's a train wreck through 20 minutes, then they'll make an adjustment. But that doesn't mean it's a train wreck for a month. It means, oh, he's not ready, and we got to keep helping him get ready. One thing this is a danger for teams all over the place, and it happens. And every team, it's an internal fight, is when you're disappointed in one of your players, like you think he should be better, and that disappointment slides into anger, like you get angry at the player, then you lose them.
Right.
Because you don't want to help coach him up anymore. You're done with him. And it happens a lot. And it's really dangerous because there's a lot of players where the team is done with them. They go to a new spot
Ooh,
and
take off.
and take off. So
Yeah.
patience is really hard because at the end of the year, those points that you lose in October, they do freaking matter. Vancouver missed the playoffs
Absolutely.
by
Yeah.
Vancouver missed the playoffs by 6 points last year. They lost
Yeah.
13 games in extra time. So all those games in October and November that they opening game of the year, they lost. They had a 5-2 lead, I think, against Calgary, and they
Yeah.
lost in overtime. Oh, there's
Yeah.
1 point. Now they only
Yeah.
missed the playoffs by 5. So Montreal is like, Montreal's in that boat. They got to find where Doc is, but you can't give points away while you're waiting for him for a month.
No. Okay. Final item here in the Canadian Brew House headlines. And do you agree with me? The biggest question in Calgary is goal scoring, and where is it going to come from? I mean, yeah, Calgary had a hell of a year last year. Huberdeau
Awesome.
found a way to find his scoring touch again. Felt like a coming out sort of performance for Coronado, right? What did he end up with? 24 goals,
Yeah.
I think.
I like him. I like him.
You like him. So
Yeah.
is the expectation, the need is those guys are going to have to duplicate those type of years. Dustin Wolf is going to have to be a star goaltender in the National Hockey League. And what else? I mean, when you look at Calgary, where does it start and where does it end in terms of the type of year you think they're going to have?
Well, Frost and Farabee, right? Like they brought them in from Philly, and those guys they've got to produce for them. They were brought in because of one of the reasons being their age and the growth hope for Calgary is in that age group. So I think those two guys are really important. Connor Zary would be another guy. In that age group, those younger guys, as they start, you hope they all start to climb to whatever they're going to be. The other thing hanging over them, of course, is Rasmus Andersson, and that's a big one because he's not long for Calgary by all accounts, and he's a critical player for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's a story that's worth following for every reason. And I think that the start for the Calgary Flames will sort of outline what Craig Conroy's and management's approach is going to be with Rasmus Andersson moving forward and how quick they. I don't think that. You're not getting pennies on the dollar if you throw a name like that out there via trade. Somebody is going to have a need. If your need is that significant, if you're Calgary in the first half of the year, somebody's going to pay for a defenseman of that quality. But it kind of feels like that's the direction that Calgary is going to go with him. It's a tough one because, the message that you're sending to your fan base isn't an easy one, but it also feels like if there was a contract to be extended, that would have been done a long time ago.
Dregs, I'm going to say this about the message to the fans the fans need to realize for the first time, really the first time in the history of our sport, certainly since the salary cap, but it's the history of the sport. Players are taking a more active tact path with where they're going to play. They're not going to be, oh, gee, this is really nice. And I don't want to move. There's more dollars around now. Players are going to dictate where they play. And clearly they've run into that as Andersson runs towards the end of his contract. He's going to dictate where he's going to play. And because he's good enough to do that. And if Calgary says we're going to hang on to him and then lose him for nothing, how's that good business?
It's not.
And so there are teams that are going to be shoehorned into this corner with their players. And it is something that is going to be an interesting part of the year. And for guys like you, it'll be something you can chase all year. Oh, you're going to be like, oh, this is a good one.
Ooh, another edition of Insider Trading on SportsCenter tonight, as a matter of fact. So,
maybe you can get
a Rasmus Andersson update.
Well, it could, but it also could be the time that you do something about your phone alerts.
I know.
What is going on there? It sounds like a train station.
I know, and Zuby is going to slap me for this. We've got Ryan Rishaug coming up, by the way, for Ask Ray Dregs. But see, there it is. There's Ryan right there. Hi, he's being a smarty pants because the issue isn't my phone. That's Ryan. He's just going ring, ring, ring. Like he's sabotaging the show, and he's
supposed to be the
self-proclaimed leader, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
leadership.
I don't know how to do the do not disturb on my
You
laptop.
Don't go
That's the issue.
You can put
it's
called
Zuby
do not
chuckling
disturb.
now.
Yeah, well, Zuby can't even believe that.
I'm not hitting
I
anything.
figured this out.
It'll kick me off, and we'll have to. It'll ruin the whole podcast, and we'll have to start again. So,
anyway, those are more of a pre-podcast thing, there, Dregs. Yeah,
I understand.
Now, I don't know. You guys, I guess, can't see Shogger's face, but I can, and he's like the Cheshire Cat right now.
But he keeps doing it.
It is him.
Yeah,
it's not even.
I get it. It's embarrassing.
Well, hopefully his groin's okay from playing golf. Like, it's quite an athletic injury.
Yeah. Those are your headlines. Thank you to our new partner, the Canadian Brew House.
Thank you, Canadian. Thank you.
Saving us one more time here. Let's kick over to Ask Ray Dregs Anything. And I was going to be nice to Rishaug.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, hey, he's actually had to put in some work. Look at
Hang on, I'm going to send another one. Look at me.
Yeah. Oh, this is funny. I'm so good. Oh, look at this. You guys,
Sorry. I was just finishing up. I've got with this
nerd,
this senior citizen that doesn't understand technology, just helping out here on the phone real quick here.
Hey, no, I was going to add it to Zuby's checklist. I mean, not that Zuby doesn't have enough to do, but now he's got to add, as part of our preamble, Dregs, have you put your do not disturb on? Because it's phone
so
is
loud.
muted. Huh?
It's so loud on the.
I don't want to touch
computer.
anything, man, because I'll take us off the air, and I don't want to do that. So.
Okay, we'll go through that. We'll go through that before the next show. Sorry, so I sent you a note on Woll earlier, and I texted to you, and it just went boom on the thing, and I was like, "Whoa, I even have a note. We're gonna have to address that." And get Dregs volume settled down there. Okay,
so
boys.
good.
So we got a few really good submissions. We put out a call for Ask Us Anything on Twitter, and we got a few people chiming in. I'll kind of leave it to you guys whether you want to dive into McDavid here with a couple of these, because I'll tell you, I live and work here in Edmonton, as you know, and as this pushes on with no contract, there's an angst building within the fan base, and some are wanting to talk about trade scenarios and such and such. Now, I don't want to so much talk about trades. I don't want to talk about trade scenarios necessarily. I think it's too early for that. But maybe just a little bit about how real that possibility is. So if you guys are willing to engage, we'll go there in a minute. Are we okay with that, or you want to just skip that?
No, the only thing I would say is, and Ray, you can chime on this. No different than a number of conversations that we would have collectively with coaches, other managers in certain situations, owners. In the last week, I have had at least 3 organizations flat out ask, what do you think the chances are of this guy going the distance this season and not agreeing to an extension? And I'm not going to disclose the location of these 3 organizations, but three
tax-free state potentially.
Well, I'm not saying anymore. It's just they would swing for the fence, as probably 29 other teams would, right? I mean, that's just so.
Okay, so I'll throw these 2 at you then. So this one comes from Alan Smithy off of X. Guys, based in reality, what's the likelihood of McDavid moving on? Doesn't matter the location, I believe right now, he and the Oilers are on a different path. Would you agree it's more than 50%, I think, at this point with the season starting and no extension signed? So that coming in from one stressed out Oiler fan, and he's got the Oiler logo as his emoji. Then Byron says, what do the Oilers do at trade deadline if McDavid hasn't signed? Gamble they win a cup or risk losing him for nothing? # Ask Ray and Dreg. So a couple points I'll make here real quick. McDavid has a no trade. He completely controls his destiny, whether there would ever be a trade or not. And as a reporter covering this team, Dregs, my sense is, I mean, I do not believe there's any chance the Edmonton Oilers are trading Connor McDavid this season, whether he has a contract in place or not. Because frankly, winning a cup here in Edmonton with the Oilers probably dramatically increases the chances that he stays on the other side of it. So that's what I would say right on the offset. But Dregs?
Nah, I mean, he wants to win. Every player wants to win. I always stop myself when I say it's not about the money, but in this case, it isn't. I mean, this guy can, he can command 20%. He's not going to, but he could. I mean, he's the best player on the planet. I think an unlikely scenario, but I'm allowing it, is that this plays out and maybe he signs an extension in June, where he literally has a full season to see whether or not this team is capable of winning. This team, or what holes need to be addressed. I wouldn't put that as the most likely scenario, but I think it's one of a few that has to be considered. I don't see trade as an option. I don't. Ray?
No, I don't either. People are, projecting out into the trade deadline. What if the Oilers are 27, 25, and 10 at the deadline? Like there are teams that look like a Stanley Cup contender, and a team that's a game and a half over 500 isn't. Like they're two completely different things. So much of this has to play out. And as we talked about last week, projecting and guessing has no value for me, because Connor has said nothing, and he's been consistently saying nothing other than, I'm committed here. I want to win here. And I don't, like I said last week, I think he's going to get 120 points. Why would he not? Mm-hmm. But as far as him, somebody asked for a percentage. I mean, each month that goes by, the percentage in my mind, it doesn't get better. I think it's, I think it's not 50-50, but I don't think it's 80% he's going to stay. I think it's closer to 50-50. And I have no idea about it, other than if he really wanted to get it done, it would be done. Yeah. I mean, there's no disputing that. If he wanted the contract done, it would be done in 4 minutes. And that's the fact. Yeah.
Dregs, just on that note real quick, there's some other big contracts that are kind of needing to be done here, Caprisov, Connor, and such. How much does whatever McDavid ends up doing here with the Oilers potentially affect those? Is that part of the holdup? Are other people waiting to see what he does? Like, is there any sort of straight line to be drawn between all of that?
Well, some want to draw that line to Caprisov, right? And Caprisov wondering, what is the number for McDavid in Edmonton? Because I want to be at or close to that number. We talked about this last week on Ray and Dregs, where, Caprisov pushed away from 128 million. And just going through my daily work, I think it was Friday, somebody not necessarily directly involved in the Caprisov situation, but certainly aware of what's going on with McDavid, still felt strongly that Caprisov is likely going to extend at 8 times 16 if he's staying in Minnesota. So I think Caprisov would prefer to know what Connor is doing way more than Connor McDavid cares about what Kirill Kaprizov is going to do, or what Jack Eichel is going to do in Vegas, or any pieces like that.
Ray, one specifically for you here. This one comes to us from Bulging Twine. Good handle, Ray, as you are between the boxes and so close to the players. Is there a player or two that really intimidates the other players, or a couple of players? Are there players that are actually scared? Is that gone by the wayside now? Thanks. So asking for your observation from ice level, Ray, between the boxes there, on what intimidation really looks like, and if there are some guys that really come across menacing.
I would say there are guys that in the FU between the players, when certain guys elevate themselves, the other guy backs away. Like there's nothing else to say. and I know this as being a little rat. Like, you can say whatever you want until the big guy goes, yeah, one more and you're going to get it. And you're like, probably. So while it's not really intimidation, it's kind of like, okay, the lines have been drawn and I see mine. It's so different. We used to come back to the benches, even 10 years ago, guys would come back to the benches and it was like a scrum getting to your bench. Every time you give somebody a tickle in the back of the legs with your stick, even if it wasn't really hard, you just, to be a pain in the ass, you'd cross-check somebody and then somebody would turn around and there would be intimidation. You'd be like, you know what? Like, that's not the guy. And right now, guys are so polite when they go to the bench. It's like that part is changed. I would say guys like Jack-Eye, they intimidate because they're unpredictable. And you're like, what if I run across him at the wrong time? Like, he's had a bad shift and I just happen to be the guy there. Like, those are guys that can, he would be a guy I would think of right away. We talked about Lucic earlier. He intimidated people. He made people back up on their heels for sure. But there's less of that than there used to be.
Yeah. Does Crosby still chirps as much as he not as much as he once did? But see, I would think not from a physical perspective, but I don't know that I'm trying to engage in a verbal joust with Sidney Crosby.
Okay, I'm laughing because he's so respected. When he tells somebody to zip it, the other guy,
what do you do?
The other guy zips it. Like, you're not really barking. And he gets a tone sometimes where he's just like, I'm 38. I've had enough of your nonsense. Just beat it. And the other guy just kind of goes, and he sits down because what are you going to do? You're going to say, oh, you don't get 100 points anymore? Oh, gee, you really got him there. Right? Like, Sid, like you can't, there's nothing to say.
Right.
Nobody says anything to Ovi. Nobody, like the stars of the game, like nobody's chirping McDavid.
No.
Right? Like, the one guy I gotta say really surprised me, and he's really good at it, is Draisaitl. He is really good. He's really cutting, and I said to him at one point, I was like, "Wow, you're really good at this, eh?" And he just kind of got, Ryan would know this. He gets that little. It's almost a smirk or a smile, but like as if to say, "Yeah, I am good at that." Like, oh yeah, he gave it to some guy, and I was like, "Oof, that guy's got nowhere to go there." And then Leon just got up and lumbered down the bench, and that was the end of it.
By the way, Ray,
I was quite
you brought up
impressed.
Draisaitl. You brought up Draisaitl there. What do you guys make of him talking about wanting to be in the Selke conversation this year? Like, being real up front with that being a goal of his. He was 6th in Selke voting last year. Ray, I asked years ago about Draisaitl as a Selke candidate, and you were kind of like, oh, like, game not there yet. I mean, he's going to need to penalty kill more if he's going to win the Selke, but a stated goal to be in the mix from a player of that caliber in the first year of a $14 million deal.
Yeah, I think he can do anything he wants to do. I didn't used to think this a couple of years ago, but he clearly is one of the very elite special players in the league. Yeah. He clearly has elevated himself into a position that he could actually talk about that and it be legit. Like, and I don't think for him to be a Selke candidate, he doesn't have to score 27 goals either.
Right.
Yeah. Like, the penalty killing, you're right, Ryan. If you've got to balance out where the minutes, like, he can't play 26 minutes a night, right? That becomes the difficulty. But maybe there's a place he can, they can shorten his minutes to use him in that role, because guys with anticipation and length, like he has, the size, he'd be an excellent penalty killer. I don't see any reason why he couldn't be very good at it.
Well, and by virtue of him saying it, he's invested in trying to improve that part of his overall game. But I'm a voter in the process. As soon as he said it, I went, all right. I'm going to pay way closer attention to that part of his game because he's put it on the table.
There's one other thing of this I just thought of is that's a little note, a sticky note over to Chris Knobloch. Hello, we're here. You know, like, and the big boys can do this.
Yes.
And they should, if he thinks he can handle more, he should. You should try. Yeah. Why put a lesser player there if he can handle it?
Yeah.
And again, the real test will be the minutes because it's a long year and those minutes do pile.
I actually did talk to Chris Knobloch about this yesterday. One reason why they'd love to have him on the penalty kill is because he's dominant in the face-off circle, and that's so critical for a penalty kill. But the other thing with penalty killing guys is you got to get in those shooting lanes, and you want your $14 million superstar forward getting in those shooting lanes.
There's different ways to get in the shooting lane. He doesn't need to lie down. You need what the shooting lane is to discourage the shot. And I think with anticipation and his stick, I think he can do that. Sidney Crosby kills penalties.
Marner, I mean, go down the list, right?
I mean, do they have better equipment? Like, if they can do it, Leon can do it.
Sure.
Just don't block any shots. Last one. You got a goalie. He's supposed to stop him.
True enough. All right, last one, guys. This comes to us from Dale in Osoyoos. I wouldn't say graybeards. You guys have been talking about the graybeards. I wouldn't say that Gabriel Landeskog, although it feels like he's been around forever, at 32 years old is far from a graybeard. But what did you guys make of him scrapping in the preseason after Cale Makar was shaken up? He was good in the playoffs, but what's a fair expectation points-wise for his upcoming regular season? That came to us via email from Dale in Osoyoos. So a reminder, the last full season, it wasn't a full season, 51 games. He was 30 goals in 21-22. He's got 5 straight seasons of 20-plus goals. We're a varying number of games, averaging out the last 3 years to closer to 30 goals on a per-game basis. But it's been a little while here. So what'd you think of the fight, Dregs? And what's a fair expectation goals and points-wise for this guy?
Ooh, well, that's a tough one, the goals. Obviously he still has a lot more to prove in terms of where his mobility is at, where his game is at. But so far he's been, at least for me, nothing but impressive. I didn't love the fight. You appreciate the character of Landeskog. That's what he is. He's defending. He's sticking up for a teammate. You're never going to knock that out of his DNA. But, given his string of injury and how long he was away from the game, I mean, he breaks a hand and he's out for 3-4 months in a preseason fight. But what you don't like about it, you love about it. Because again, he's going after what he perceived to be a big hit or a cheap shot on Cale Makar, the star of the Colorado Avalanche, and he wasn't going to let that slide by.
Well, the fact it was Makar is the reason that his gloves were off. If it was somebody else, it's probably not the same. I was thoroughly impressed with Landeskog when he came back. I just didn't know what would be possible after so much time. Full season's a whole other thing. Last year he came back and adrenaline carries you through early, and then the season was over. I think he can be in the 18 to 22 goal range, 40 to 50 points. And because I don't think he'll play every night, and I think it would be foolish to play every night.
Right.
There's going to be time, like just if he needs a couple of days off here, he gets a couple of days off. I was really surprised that he was able to play like he did last year. And it made me think, you know what, there's a little more in the tank health-wise for him to give.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun to watch this year as he makes his regular season return to the Colorado Avalanche. That's Ask Ray and Dregs. Thanks, boys. Dregs, give me a shout after the show and we'll get some technical support going for you.
No, we're not talking for another few days.
Okay.
You pissed me off. Made a mockery of the podcast by the ding, 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 dings. Zuby's offended because Zuby now has to work overtime to mute all those things. So
well, and the other part of
funny in the
this too
moment,
is now
but not so fun.
like I just want to make this clear from my perspective, Ryan. If you're dealing with this issue with Darren, do it privately. Do not put it in the group chat. This does not have to be about your ignorance of time zones across our great country.
Oh goodness!
I don't need to read this again. Hey, is it 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock? If you got a problem with Dregs, do it. We'll talk Thursday when we get at it next time.
Sounds good.
Everybody have a nice day.
As the boss and executive producer, the dings are staying in the show, though. Final say.
Okay.
See you guys.
All right. That's fine by me.
As they should. Well done, Ryan. I approve of your jackassery.
So we've got a second podcast this week. We're in the rotation now, Ray. Just set your schedule, all right? Maybe it isn't always going to be Tuesday, Thursday. I mean, that, we do have to embrace your schedule and travel and all that. But we are scheduled for Thursday, and unless something happens, it sounds like Adam Foote, head coach of the Vancouver Canucks, is going to join us on Thursday. So there's a fair bit going on around the Canucks, so we should have lots to talk about with Footer and get his view of camp and preseason and the year ahead.
First crack at an NHL head coach, and after a year where a lot of things in Vancouver, and so they're encouraged, they're healthy, and Footer's got his first crack at it, so it'll be good to talk with him.
All right, next couple of days, you're busy looking after Reese. What's going on?
He's got a school soccer game today after, which is great. Tomorrow, between now and Thursday, I got to play golf for sure. So
nice.
We got just a few days left, Dregs, and I'm packing them all in. But it's we're in a good stretch here, and so enjoying the rest of it and enjoying the last bit of time at home.
Good stuff. Well, preseason hockey for me, we're in one. Toronto, Ottawa Tuesday, another one on Thursday. So the grind is real.
Time to go.
It's time to go. All right, buddy. Well, we'll check in on Thursday.
Yeah, have a great one. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we'll talk to you in a few days.
You bet. Thank you to our sponsors who continue to support Ray and Dregs and make this podcast possible. Our title sponsor, Tim Hortons, thank you, and thank you to the Canadian Brew House. Until next time, stay safe, everybody.
Oh, this is big.